Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast podcast, episode number 106. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeff Bradbury from TeacherCast.net. We are here to provide you with the best professional development for your home and your classrooms. Today, we have a great show where we're going to be talking to Mark Johnson all about StudioTech and learning what equipment you need for your home studio. And we're also going to talk to them a little bit about how to build a studio for your classroom and your school district. There's many ways that you can reach out to us here on TeacherCast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at info@teachercast.net, and we love it when you subscribe to us on teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. My guest today is Mark Johnson, the co-host of StudioTech TV, an amazing internet resource that is helping people out all around the world learn how to broadcast and podcast right from their home studios. Mark, I want to welcome you to the show. How are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing great, and I'm delighted to be talking to you, Jeff, to just explore a little bit about how people can get onto the exciting world of internet video.
And talk to us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been broadcasting, and how long have you been doing internet video?
Oh, that's a good question. How long have you got? No, been doing what you would see as being internet video probably for about 3.5 years. Although my interest in video goes back a long way before then. In fact, probably about 30 years. So I was one of those people who, in the early days of video, carried the big video camera that had a cable to a suitcase hanging on your side. So I've been messing around with video for a long time, and have been playing with streaming video or video on demand for the last 3 years. And from that, because of the interest that we got when we started talking about what we were doing, we created Studio TV.
And what kind of things do you have going there? I see you've got a lot of boxes and a lot of toys, and every week you come on at StudioTech.tv and showcase some of the most cutting-edge and amazing ways for educators just like myself to use this great stuff. And I got to say at the top of the show here, none of this TeacherCast broadcasting would be possible without your show. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing out there.
Well, that's great to hear. Let me tell you a little bit about the story of how we got started. I mean, people who have a passion want to be able to share that, and we were, with a technology background and an interest in video, I started to share some of the things that I was playing around with, and I was using a product which I think you use called Wirecast, which allows you on a Mac or a PC computer just to switch between cameras and do a little bit of clever stuff, doing green screen. So like the weatherman, you can replace the background with something different. As I was playing around with this, and I put up a few videos showing how to do it, and suddenly we were getting lots and lots of interest. So from that, we started expanding. We started doing a weekly live show. We've done over 124, I think it is, weekly live shows. We only miss it at Christmas normally. And the interest has been overwhelming because there are a lot of people, whether it's educators or whether it's other people, just have a passion. If you have a passion and you want to share it, I mean, there is no limits now with internet video.
And that's certainly the case here. I mean, more and more educators are turning to using internet video. They're doing the Google Hangouts. They're using Wirecast. This is something that is getting very, very easy. And educators and school districts are finding that they can do it really, really, not necessarily on the cheap, but inexpensively, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can do this from nothing. I mean, if you have a computer, it has to be a reasonably powerful computer. But if you have a computer and a camera and you want to invest in an adapter card, you can actually stream live literally for a couple of $100s. That's just by using a product from Adobe called Flash Media Live Encoder. And that allows you to stream to companies like Livestream or Ustream, or if you have a YouTube live account, it allows you to upload your videos and people can watch them either live or on demand. So it can be started off very cheaply, and that's what we did. We started with just a couple of $100, and probably $100,000 later, we're leading the way because we are sharing this passion, and because of that interest, we've been able to get people on board who have helped us, develop the studio, loan us products for demoing. But it is very important for people to realize you don't have to spend that sort of money. You can start off with a camera that you might just already own for taking home videos, an adapter card, and a piece of software like Wirecast or other similar products, and you can start doing some very professional looking things, very, very cheaply. Now, you might want to grow from there, and you've probably found that, Jeff, that you start off simply thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice if you can just do this or do that? But it is exciting.
I completely agree. When I got started, I actually had a few friends who kind of took me under their virtual wing and said, here, go buy this, go buy this. And my first purchase was my mixer, my Behringer 802, and I got that home. It's got 2 mic inputs, and I quickly realized, I need to get the 1202, the bigger one. And that, of course, starts the habit that everybody seems to have is, okay, you have a little bit, let's go get a little bit more. And, sitting here, I'm looking at 4 high-def monitors and 2 MacBook Pros in front of me to do broadcasting every single week. But, this is the habit that we kind of feed. So knowing that you were coming on the show, we put out some questions onto Twitter and basically asking teachers, what do they want to know? How would they want to start off their careers? Now, teachers are on budgets, and we're talking teachers anything from elementary schools to even the high schools. But let me ask you the first question about classroom stuff. Many teachers have iPads or have some kind of a tablet device. What would you recommend teachers get to supplement, say, a tablet device? What kind of microphones, what kind of inexpensive microphones would be good for a small classroom use to maybe get some kids up and running and just dabbling in video editing?
Well, there are several products out there, and very cheap. If you have an iPad or an iPhone, then there are several products that you can use, and we don't even necessarily need an external microphone. But probably the one thing that improves video like nothing else is having good audio. So get it. Just do a search on Amazon for iPad mics. They're all they're all pretty reasonable. You can spend a lot of money. I would always recommend buying one of the docks that you can plug different microphones in. But there are a whole range of things, and you can edit. But the iPad is great, iPhone is great, but it is going to be limiting in what you can do. It really is allowing you to shoot video and then edit it. Where most people are moving towards live video, even if it's not live to an audience, it's live to disk. So you want to start your session, whether it's a lesson or a broadcast or a meeting, and you just want to do it in one take, from beginning to end. You want to be able to put your titles on and do it in one go, because post-production takes a lot of time, and we all have to do it. We all have to do some. I don't know how much time you spend on your average podcast in post-production, but if you plan it correctly, you can minimize that. Our post-production on our live shows is now about 20 minutes. You can't do that if you are, if you're getting your iPad and you're shooting a little bit of video, then you're editing it. It's going to take a lot of time. So you're right. Look around. Get some of the get one of the external microphones. That's a great place to start. But really, the starting base, as I see it, is a good laptop. Laptop. There are really 3 products that you can get. You can look at Wirecast from Telestream, has a starting price of about $500 for the entry level version. There's a product called VidBlaster, which has different offerings. Again, probably a little bit less than that to more than that. But the up and coming product for Windows users is vMix, and that's from a company in Australia, vmix.com.au. And they actually have a free version that allows you to try out some of these things, without having to buy any sort of license. It is limited to just a few inputs and to standard definition. But for a lot of people, that means they can try it on their computer. Is the computer good enough? Does it work? Can they get video into the computer? And that is normally where people start having a problem. It's not necessarily the software. It is how do you get video into your computers.
And what is the best way to do that? I mean, one of the other questions that came up for you, Mark, is Mac or PC? And everybody says, PC is, of course, you can buy them cheaper. Macs are more expensive. I'm a Mac guy. I will argue with you that it's just so much easier to plug a camera into a Thunderbolt port and make it work. But let's kind of get out of the classroom and think of that film club or that high school that wants to put together a broadcasting platform to maybe do the Board of Ed meetings or the principal or the concerts. If you had $20,000 to $50,000 and you were putting together a good high school quality film club, what would you suggest, Macs or PCs, and where do you go from there?
I think if I had that sort of money, I'd actually be looking at some of the purpose-built systems, like the New Tech do a range of products called the TriCaster, and that's actually what we use. That's the heart of our studio. It allows us to do lots of very clever things. And there are advantages to having an all-in-one solution, and that is because I have found that when training people to do it, if it's a film club, if it's a school or a college, you're not going to have the luxury of having one person operating it at the time. You're going to have either people, operating it for a year as they move through, or you're going to have volunteers. And if you have an all-in-one system where you can play videos, you can do your lower thirds. Lower thirds are those captions along the bottom of the screen. If you want to do things like that, if it's all in one package, all in one solution, people get it very quickly. Whereas if you have a computer and then you have a switching unit and then you have a mixer, it can become more complex. So let's just understand that there are some dedicated systems out there. If we go back one and say, well, let's say you don't want to do that. Maybe you've got some machines, and if you've got a powerful Windows machine, then start with that. Don't go out and buy a Mac or a MacBook Pro, which I have to agree. I mean, this is a MacBook Pro sitting here in front of me. So I'm a Mac guy. But on the other hand, we have some Windows machines, and they can work very well. We have. I'm just going to flick over to this. This is vMix. This is running on a Windows machine on our rack, and you can see it's got two windows at the bottom, at the top, Program and Preview. And it's got lots of inputs on the bottom. So you can take an existing i7, I would say, machine, put some software on it. Could be Wirecast, could be vMix. And get started. You then need to be able to capture the video, and that's where things, as we mentioned, become more complicated. If you've got a PC, then there's a company called Blackmagic Design. They do a range of products that have inputs, either HDMI inputs from normal cameras, or the professional connection is known as SDI, which stands for Serial Digital Interface. Now, as soon as you start talking about SDI, the price does go up, but the ease of use comes down. And what a lot of people do is take an HDMI camera and put a little converter on the output of it, which converts it to SDI, and then they use the SDI cards. But there are capture cards from Blackmagic that will either do HDMI or SDI inputs. That Windows PC I just showed you has a single card in it that has 4 SDI inputs, and so we can connect 4 cameras to that quite easily. That card isn't cheap; it runs around $1,000. But if you've already got a PC, you've got $1,000 for a card. If you've got 3 or 4 cameras, and let's say they're HDMI cameras, they're not even professional cameras of some sort. The converters are about $300 each. So for $2,000, $3,000, even if you had to buy the machine for $5,000, you can get a fairly good setup. But don't forget, that's just the switching, and there are lots of other things. You have to worry about audio, you have to be worrying about lighting, and that you need to add a little bit for that as well.
What lessons have you learned over the last 100 and some episodes that you can maybe share with us as far as how to produce a high-quality, amazing live show?
All right, well, practice. And I go back and I look at some of the first episodes. Luckily, we lost the very first episode, so we haven't got that. So history can't show how bad it was. They have improved. I mean, the old rule, it takes 10,000 hours to become, really proficient expert in something. I'm sure is true in video production. Yeah, obviously having equipment that will do the job is important, but the most important thing is the planning. If your content is good, if people can hear what you're saying, they'll forgive all sorts of issues with the video. If the wrong lower third comes up or the camera switch is wrong, but you have got good content, people will forgive you. So content is king, absolutely. It has to be. You can have the best video production in the world, but if the content isn't enthralling or people aren't engaged by it, then you're not going to succeed. Mm-hmm. The thing that we did literally from day one is we created what we know as show notes. So they are the running order of the show. So while it might look at times like we're jumping from one topic to the other, and that does happen, there is a running order that we follow, and we used to rehearse. We don't rehearse. We sometimes go through some of the things, and I get on extremely well with my co-host, and we have a great working relationship, and we can bounce off of each other. So that's the reason that we haven't had to rehearse quite as much as we used to. But having the show notes, having all your assets, so that if you're going to be using photographs, if you're going to be using videos, if you're going to be having lower thirds, titles up, having all those beforehand and knowing where they go and put them into the show notes is very important. Yes, you can wing it, but the more the planning that goes in, then the better the performance and the show will be.
You can, of course, catch Mark on StudioTech TV. And when is your show running live, Mark?
Right, we have the live show is every Tuesday, so that's at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK, 2000 CET. Now, I know 2 p.m. isn't necessarily a great time for people in the US. We time it to try and obviously to catch. I'm in the UK, so we're catching the UK and the European audience as well. And believe it or not, we also have some people in sort of Australia and New Zealand who get up early in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch. But it is available on video on demand as well. Normally within a few hours, you can watch it on video on demand on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel, StudioTech TV, and there's over 300 videos, 320 odd videos that we have uploaded there now.
One of the things that I noticed about your show, and maybe you can throw a few secrets in here, but you're of course in the UK, and your co-host is not. But am I correct in seeing sometimes you and your co-host are on the same screen at the same time?
Yeah. So first of all, in fact, I just saw it. We have, we're very lucky in that we have a live HD link between the two studios. So my co-host Vance Willis, he is in just outside of Raleigh in North Carolina, and actually I can switch to his studio now. So there we are. That is his studio live, and he was there a moment ago, but he has disappeared. So we have a low latency. By that I mean it's a very low delay on the link, so sub 1 second delay, and it's HD, so we can bring him in and just as a guest or as co-host, and that works great. But if he sits in front of a green screen and I sit in front of a green screen, we can do this magic called chroma keying or green screen keying, and put us in the same place. Now, it looks like I'm sitting, here in front of bookshelves, etc. But actually, I'm not, because I am sitting here in a green screen. There is nothing behind me. It is all pretend. And with the clever technology that we're using in the TriCaster, we can do things. So now I'm on one side of the screen, and we can drop Vance into this side of the screen and make us look like we are in the same place. We can also do things like digital zooms in and all that lower thirds, and then if I can find the right shot, there we go. So I'm still sitting in the same place, and there looks like there is a monitor there with a video on it. That's actually a camera that's looking down on the desk here. So if I want to demonstrate something, we can show it, or I can put Vance's picture on there or whatever. So this is some of the clever stuff that you can do. But just with a click of the fingers, then we're back to the pretend studio that I'm in now.
And is that all done through? You said you're running Wirecast at that point, or you're running TriCaster software?
Yeah, this is all on the TriCaster. The TriCaster is I mean, it does, it does everything that Wirecast or vMix does, plus more. And it has, it has more inputs, and it does allow us to do a lot of things that we couldn't do. So everything that you've just seen, you can do in Wirecast. It might be a little bit more difficult. It might not be so flexible, but it can be done. Now, the reason we talk about Wirecast a lot, of course, is because it really is the only product for the Mac platform. We talked about earlier about there being three choices if you're on Windows, or three main choices. There are some other programs out there, but the three popular ones we talked about. But on Mac, it is just Telestream's Wirecast, and that's I started off with one camera, and then I went to Wirecast on the Mac.
We have a few more questions coming in. Somebody here is asking about those green screens. They said that they've seen green screen backgrounds, black screen backgrounds, white screen backgrounds. What's up with the difference, and what do I choose?
That is a good question. Green is the most popular color, and it is the color that apparently is less likely to clash with skin tones and with what people wear. You do have to be careful. You do have to give guidance. If I was to wear a green screen, a green tie, or I would, the background would be on me. If I just got a green piece of cloth now, I'd be the cloak of invisibility. I would just disappear under it. So you do have to give a little bit of, make sure your guests aren't wearing green, basically. And sometimes that becomes a problem if you have, if you're going to demonstrate something, demo something, and it's got green on it, you hold it up, and it just doesn't look like. So the other color that is used is blue, but green is the popular one. The secret with a good green screen is to make sure if you're using material. This is actually the screen behind me. This is actually painted directly onto a wall, and so it hasn't got any wrinkles in it. But some people use material, and you want to get rid of the wrinkles where possible, and you need to light it. You actually light the screen on its own, and then you light the talent or whoever's on to get the best sort of what they call key, get the best differential between the talent and the background. But green, green and blue are the two colors. You can actually key out any color, but green and blue are the popular ones, and green is actually the easiest to key from a technical point of view.
Nice. A couple more questions coming in here. By the way, thank you so much for all the knowledge here. This is certainly going to help out a lot of educators. Talk about lighting. I mean, people obviously, if we're working in classrooms here, we have the natural lighting that is in our classrooms, which is wonderful for broadcasting purposes, right?
Right, of course. Yes.
I mean, again, we're looking at a film club. They're putting together a room. Do you suggest turning off all the lights that are overhead and just getting studio lights? And if so, what does a teacher want to budget for something like that?
Ideally, yes, you would. Now, I'm here in the studio. We purpose-built this studio. It's 4 by 6 meters. So what's that? That's 13 feet by 22 feet. We've actually put a small partition in one part, so we have all the control room is now separately. But we have blackout material on all the windows, so there's no exterior light coming in. You can use exterior light, but what can happen is, it's a cloudy day, you set up, and then suddenly the sun comes out, the clouds disappear, and you suddenly have X kilowatts of extra light coming in that you weren't expecting. So you can control it more if you block out all the sort of natural light and you only have light in. Now, the lighting we have in here is probably not that expensive. We haven't gone with some of the high end. If you go, you can spend. In the broadcast industry, you can spend a lot of money on just a paper clip. It's probably a bit like the military. They'll get you if they can. But we have 5 main lights in here. They're about $400, $500 a piece, and that allows you to control them. You do have to worry about heat depending on the room. LED lights are becoming more and more common and are getting better. And won't go into the technical reasons why some of the LED lights haven't been brilliant up until now, but they are getting a lot better. And probably, the next move we would do is go to LED lights. And the reason for that is there are hardly any heat output. They're very portable. They're very light. You can run them off batteries if you want to move them around, but they are a lot more expensive. And you probably need to budget around 600 per light. So if you had 3 or 4 lights for the talent, and 2 or 3 lights behind, that's sort of 5 or 6 of them is what you would have to spend. But if you've got a film club, anybody who knows traditional sort of portrait, even photography, like photographic lighting, there is not a lot wrong with using what's known as 3-point lighting. And if you just do a search on 3-point lighting, and that'll give you a lot of tips for lighting the talent. Lighting the green screen, you just need to get an even light.
And just for a quick plug here, I know I purchase all of my stuff from B&H and Amazon. Is there other stores that you go out there and use in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, there's a couple of dealers. Planet PC is a big one that we have used. There is no B&H equivalent. In fact, B&H come over to the European shows and exhibit over here. I haven't visited there, but that's something that one day I am going to visit their store in New York. I understand it is very impressive. But there are 3 or 4 sort of dealers that we use, and you just have to search around.
When you do get over here to New York, certainly look me up. We're about 90 minutes from New York City, and would love to catch up with you here. And it's funny that you mentioned that natural lighting, because usually we record live on Sunday nights when, of course, the sun is down. And getting everything set up for the show here today, I'm looking around going, right behind me is this huge window, and it's completely whited out right now. And those who watch the show on a regular basis know I usually have my green screen up, but we took it down because of all the babies. But yeah, you do have to watch out for all this wonderful natural lighting out here.
Yeah, it can be wonderful. You can get some lovely effects with natural light. And as a sort of a would-be still photographer as well, I know that early morning light and late in the afternoon light, there's a beautiful warmth you can get. But it isn't predictable. When you're doing video, you need predictable light. You need to be able to say, I want to do this video now, and be able to control everything.
Mark, let me ask you one more question here. This is the one that I get more often than not. Principals come up to me and they say, I want to stream live my morning announcements. And they want to be able to sit at their desk or sit at some location and go on camera and talk about what's going on for the day. Now, we're only talking 5 or 6 minutes here. And
Right.
They really want to do this. And what ends up happening is I end up talking them out of it, because in order to do that, my answer is you got to go onto YouTube Live, or you have to sign up for like a Justin TV or a Vaughn, which is running Flash, or you have to make sure that all of your classrooms have internet access and they're on at the same time. And I know I'm giving them the best answer I can give them. And we've talked about this a lot on the Tech Educators show, and I'm getting yeses and nos. But let me throw this to you. Small budget. I can't be spending $600 on lighting. An elementary principal just wants to get on and showcase what's going on for 5 or 6 minutes in the morning. What needs to happen? Is it possible? And what would you suggest the classrooms, technology-wise, have to have? Because every classroom has the loudspeaker, which can get audio, but not every classroom can get TV or video or. Okay, Mark, you're building a school and the principal wants to do this. Low budget. What would you recommend me telling these people?
It's a good question. I mean, and the answer is it depends. It depends how many classrooms and how many places you want to get it to. You can create your own sort of streaming service. I mean, you've rightly said, look, if you want to stream it live, you're going to have to go to Livestream or Ustream or YouTube Live, and then everybody can log in and it can be streamed that way. You can create your own network for streaming, and there's a very popular product called Wowza. That's WOWZA, and they just brought out a new version of their software. Now, it isn't. They have a monthly charge which they try and sign people up to, which I think is about $55 a month, and that allows you to use the software, and that allows you to stream on your own network. But the problem with any sort of streaming is the classrooms then all have to have a PC turned on and be able to click on the button at the right time and watch it. It probably doesn't give them the control they want. On the other hand, you could just video it and send it around on cabling to monitors everywhere, depending on the size of the structure. But then you've got to pay for the cable installation. You've got to have a monitor or a TV in every classroom. But in many ways, that might be easier because at least you can control it. You know that it's on. Nobody has to press the buttons at the right time. And creating depending on the size of the school, an SDI network. With adapters which are pretty cheap to go from the SDI professional feed to HDMI for a cheap computer monitor, which how much are they, $100? So you could probably do that for $250 per classroom or something, including a bracket. So it depends on what flexibility you're prepared to put up with. If you think that all your teachers, all the staff are going to start the streaming at the same time, then put in your own streaming server. But if you want to be able to control it and maybe put other things up during the day, then actually put in an installation of monitors driven from a simple video camera production.
Tuesday nights at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have StudioTech TV, where you can watch Mark and his co-host Vance talk about amazing things, always showing off the most cutting-edge technology, always showing off exactly how you can transform your home studio and your school into an amazing video production tool. Mark, in closing here, what advice would you give somebody who's looking to start this process? What advice would you be looking to partake on to somebody who's like, maybe I want to do this, it's too much money, I don't know what to do, maybe I should just go grab a Google Hangout and start from there? What one piece of advice would you want somebody to hang on to?
I think that piece of advice would be, look around, see what's there. Obviously, look at StudioTech.tv, our website. There's lots of videos there. You might think, oh, that's a little bit, higher end, or we try and do some basic stuff as well. Visit the Telestream website and look at Wirecast, either Mac or PC. Go to vmix.com.au and look at at the vMix software. And there's both Telestream have a demo version you can download, and vMix have a basic version which has given you 4 inputs, 2 capture inputs, standard definition, and 1 sort of overlay for titles, and that's free. You don't have to pay anything. Just get it onto your computer. Just have a play around with it. They all have videos that you can watch a demo video, and just see if it is something for you. Now, if you are the one who has the passion and the content, but not necessarily the technical know-how, there are quite a few people around who play with video. It might be other teachers. It could be other members of the staff. In some schools, it might be even the pupils are pretty knowledgeable. Is creating a film club or a video club or an internet production club the thing to do? Is that the way to get things started? Because these facilities can be shared. I mean, they can be used by pupils. There are pupils, the schools in the US who are producing. The kids are producing. Daily or weekly 5-minute shows, within the network. So, just look around. There are some great hardware out there. There's some great tutorials available, and it is exciting. And don't be put off. It is worth persevering. I mean, I have to remember the first time I came across Wirecast. After 5 minutes, I discarded it and said, I can't understand this. It was only when I came back and invested, a couple of hours that it really made sense. So don't get put off. And the rewards are amazing. Our shows go out and we get emails from all around the world. We have an interactive chat room during our live show, and people are, there's a community is building around the community of like-minded people who want to, produce, good video. And it is exciting and fun, and it means you're not just limited to whoever's in front of you. The world is your oyster, as they say.
Nice. Mark, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on our show today. We certainly appreciate it. Where can we find you online, and how do we get a hold of you on Twitter?
Right, on Twitter, I am at TTFN-TV, and in fact, by the magic there, you can I even put it up on the screen. So it's very simple, at TTFN-TV, and just check out the website, which is www.studiotech.tv. And I've enjoyed it, Jeff. Thanks very much for asking me.
Thank you so much. And of course, you can check out this and other TeacherCast broadcasting live every single Sunday night. We have the Tech Educator podcast at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And at 9:30, we bring you Principal Cast featuring 3 amazing educators. You can, of course, check out TeacherCast on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave a voice message at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at info@teachercast.net. And of course, you can subscribe to our audio and video channels at teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. And before we go, of course, I want to thank our wonderful and generous sponsors, StoryboardThat.com, where for a limited time, you can receive 25% off for being a friend of TeacherCast. That's right. Go to StoryboardThat.com/TeacherCast and sign up for your storyboarding. It is a great app. It is amazing for teaching kids how to do storytelling, how to do role playing. There is unlimited stuff that you can do. 25% off your order. StoryboardThat.com/TeacherCast. On behalf of everybody here in the TeacherCast Nation and from TeacherCast Studios, thank you so much for your time.